Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shadow Healer 101. I'm going to be doing a quick talk. I can't talk too long. I have things to do. I just took a shower. And I have things to do. Well, not things. I have practically one thing to do. It's not like I have a job. And also to the person waiting for a response from me, I know there's someone that's waiting for, or they think they're waiting for a response from me. I'm not sure why they think they're waiting for a response from me. If they're waiting for a response or they think they're waiting for a response from me, my response has already been no. I already said that I'm leaving. I'm leaving all that behind, everything from the past or whatever is from the past. I'm leaving that behind, including you. All of that is being left behind. Okay. So whatever response you're waiting for, that's a response. Okay. Now, uh, I don't go back to my vomit. I go back to check to make sure that but I don't go back to my vomit. Okay. So special abilities, ancestors, ancestral lineage. Let's talk. See, and this is again, I guess, claircognizance, know thyself. I just figured something out, something else out. So, a lot of you that are discovering that you have special abilities now, think about looking into your bloodline. I mean, I already know that, but think about looking deeply into your bloodline. Um, it's funny because I was thinking to myself because I was asking. I woke up this morning. I said my prayers, read my Bible, blah blah blah, and then thinking in my head because okay, I'll be honest with you guys. This is one thing I've always had with Christianity that makes it very hard for me to be a Christian, and this has been a big challenge in my walk. I find that I cannot relate to Christians. The kind of things I want to discuss, a lot of Christians don't want to discuss. The kind of things that I'm getting, or the way I'm seeing things, or the way I'm receiving stuff, a lot of people don't want to. Like, for example, I was um, talking to my mom yesterday, and can you guys hear me? I was talking to my mom yesterday, and she was talking about her friend. And when she was telling her friend that because I told her that I've been talking to God for a while now. Yeah, they're like a square, and it's like I can't. The kind of things that I want to discuss, or the kind of things that I know about the world, or I see about the world, is always just devil worship. My mom was telling me that she was talking to her friend, and her friend, hey, hey, Johari, hey, Santa Muerta, afternoon. I did my ancestry testing, very interesting. Um, yeah. So the crazy thing is, how can I put it? For me, right, I have, and this is not to brag, but I did ask this question and it came to me, and I've been talking to you guys about it anyway, so you guys should know to some degree. The crazy thing is, I have royalty on both my family sides. I've already shared that with you guys, right? Hey, hey, D. I'm trying to say that name, but I know that's not the name, so I'm just gonna say D. Hey, D. So I've already shared with you guys I have royalty on both my family side, right? Something about Africans that a lot of people don't know, I guess maybe us Africans we know, there used to be this thing called, maybe in West Africa, I shouldn't speak for all Africans, I know Nigerians have it too. There are these people called rain criers. In African communities or in West African communities, there are these people called rain criers. Is there anybody from Africa that knows that? Or have you ever heard of a rain crier before? Share if you have. Because there's something funny that I just realized. I just realized some really funny stuff about myself, and I think a lot of y'all that I'm gonna be sharing. So, is there anybody from Africa that has heard about rain criers before? The concept of a rain crier. They don't practice them so much anymore, but okay, D has heard about rain criers. So rain criers, exactly. She's from Africa. I know that for a fact. I think she's from. I don't think I'm allowed to say, but I know where she's from. But she's from, yeah. So the thing about rain criers is that there were people that were called generally when the community was going to have like a dance, like a night of shamanic dancing, or people were having weddings, they were having funerals, or called a rain crier, and the rain crier's job was to make sure that the weather was good when they were having weddings and ceremonies. Any kind of ceremony they would generally call a rain crier, and the rain crier's job was to make sure that the weather was good. And it's funny because remember I just told you guys not too long ago that I feel like I can control the weather, and when I get emotional, it starts to rain. Even a few days ago, you guys noticed that I recorded a storm was happening outside of my apartment. That storm only lasted like 45 minutes. That rain that was falling, it only lasted like 45 minutes. And I think I called it. But then I was asking myself, how is it that I'll be able to do that? And I know in my Vedic chart, now going back to Vedic, In Vedic astrology, they say, like for example, my sign, and that's Aquarius water bearer in English in the Western side, but in Vedic, I hear Bunya, the bringer of the rain. So there's that concept of my sign has the ability to bring the rain, quote unquote. Okay, I think I might have an ancestor that was either a rain crier. Actually, I don't even think I had an ancestor that was a rain crier. I'm going to tell you guys what I think it is. On both sides of my family, I'm royalty, right? In African traditionalism, maybe not all over, but in my culture, when a person is getting put as a chief or the king, you get all the witch doctors, so to speak, in the community will gather around and they'll give you their magic. And essentially, that doesn't mean you'll be able to do it as well as them, but they will give you their magic because the idea is that they should not be able to trump you, because they have to answer to you. I remember in African spirituality, it's not just so clear cut. There are high priests, then there are other practitioners, and then there are other types of. And then let's say, for example, if we're talking maybe Orisha worship, then there might be a goddess, there might be a Yemoja high priestess, and then there'll be Yemoja priestesses, and then there might be Oshun's high priestess, and then Oshun's priestesses, and blah blah blah. So essentially, all the cults will come together in the village or in the community and give them their magic. And I think that's the reason why I have so many gifts. Because someone had asked me that before. And so a lot of you that are noticing that I have gifts, a lot of your family, and I was doing someone's chart. I remember this very well. I was doing someone's astrological chart, and I saw in their chart that they had some sort of a spirit that was very sexual. And I said that one of your ancestors was a secret prostitute. So, and it was weird because I literally saw it in their chart, and I said, one of your ancestors was a secret prostitute. And this lady lives in Canada now. She's an African American woman, well, African Canadian. She lives in Canada. But one of her ancestors was a secret prostitute. And it's funny because you can actually see how that has influenced her life and it was influencing her children's life still. And it's something I've also shared with me that my dad, for example, he has the ability. And I always thought my dad was just very charming, but I think my dad has the ability of suggestion. Like he can talk you into doing things. And I always thought he was just charming. But now that I'm thinking about it, like it's like my brain is exploding. While I was taking a shower, I was just getting so much information. It's like my brain is exploding. While I was talking, I was thinking about it. It's like, no, he actually has the ability to put his ideas into people's heads. Probably why he became so wealthy. And he got things so easily in life. And I've always shared with you guys that my dad is a hoe. And it's the truth. He is a hoe. My dad can talk just about anybody. And remember, I've been sharing that with you guys now for a while. Then my dad has this thing where he can talk you into doing stuff. And it's very true. I went to university for 6 years. Of those 6 years, I knew I was studying things I did not want to study. But every time I would talk to my dad, it's like something would switch up in my head. And then a few weeks later or a few months later, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. But as soon as I talk to him, it's like, phew, and then I'm done. So it's not like in the movies where it's like, go jump off a building, and then the person just goes and jumps off a building. But I think a lot of times when we look at spiritual practices in sci-fi or in science fiction and the way it's portrayed, it's very like, you know, I snap my finger and this happens, or you look at Storm and she just, rises to the air and causes a storm. It's not how it works. So there are people with gifts here. So you guys, a lot of you that have gifts now, you might want to really look into Happy Thursday, Eugene, and everyone. Hey, Vinchel, and hey. So a lot of you that have gifts now, you might really want to look into your ancestry and ask some questions from your grandmothers and great grandmothers, because you might actually have maybe high priests from your family and that bloodline. And it's just like how when a human being mutates, they pass down those traits. Even energetically, we pass down those traits. So we do pass down those traits. This is crazy. So a lot of you might have a lot of gifts you don't even know about. I think though that a lot of it might be dumbed down as well, because as we're going along, if we don't, it's like a muscle. If it's not you exercise, it dies down. And sometimes, and I'm just realizing, like I told you guys a few days ago, that I can do a lot of things that I'm just now realizing that I can do a lot of things. I'm just like I've always known, but like I said, I've always said I always just thought I was psychic. But now I'm realizing no, there are levels to this thing. Like there are different gifts that do different things. It's not just all psychic. That's too big an umbrella. So some of you do definitely ask your grandmothers and grandfathers, about your ancestry and let them talk to you about certain things because there might be a lot of ancestral blessings in your bloodline that you've inherited that you don't even know, and it's kept in the Akashic record, of course. So I'm realizing, even energetically, how that has influenced me because I'm royal on two sides, from two different communities. So now I'm asking, like, how many gifts do I have? And I know my mom has a lot of gifts. I don't know so much about my dad. I know he has a gift of suggestion. He can make people do things. He can make people do things. So he has a gift of suggestion, but I don't know. I know my mom has prophecy, and I know um, she has this thing where she can sense things with her hands. Like if something is about to happen, like if something bad is about to happen, for example, she might get like an itch on her pinky. If something good is about to happen, she might get like an itch in her palm. Like when she's about to get money, she gets an itch in her left palm. So she has that gift. So that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of us might have. My AC is running. Why am I sweating? So a lot of us might have a lot of gifts that we don't even know that we have. Oh, actually, it's water from my head because I just showered. So definitely do ask your ancestors, ask your grandmothers and your fathers about stories from about your because you might find out a lot of things from them. And I think they also have these gifts because a lot of the times, and again, this is just part of, I guess, my claircognizance at this point, because I've always had this idea that how we learn magic is through interacting with the fairies we used to meet. That's how I think even learning how to light fire is because of that. When man discovered fire, is because of the fairies that we meet. I think this is how I see it in my head when I think of how magic and human brain developed. I think at some point someone might have stumbled upon, like one of us, our ancestors might have stumbled upon like a freaking mushroom and eaten it, and their eyes were open and they started seeing spirits, and the spirits were the ones that told them what to do as pertaining to magic. And I think there was chakra points being opened, and you see, these are the kind of things I can't discuss with Christians. Like they're always just like, oh, that's devil worship, oh, that's devil worship. I'm like, but this is the world and it's a beautiful world. And there's just so much we don't know, and that's the one thing that irks me the most about Christianity, is that they just think they know everything. uh I'm like really trying, guys. I will still consider myself. I'm not gonna. Whether or not I consider myself a Christian, it doesn't matter. Jesus never called himself a Christian, anyways. So that title doesn't matter to me. Is a practice. Is the heart. I got baptized at 19. I was very strong with God. I was very strong with God, but I felt like I was being stifled. And that's the thing. I always felt like I was being stifled because Christians don't ever want to talk about things like these. And it's just so interesting and fascinating. And the world is so big and God is so big and everybody just wants to put it in a box. And it's just like, can we talk and just talk without always feeling like, because they've been programmed? Yeah, like, can we talk and just talk without feeling like I'm gonna go to hell or you're gonna go to hell? Or there's always that fear of damage and destruction and danger. Like, but there's so much in this world, this beautiful world that God gave us, these beautiful gifts that God gave us. Why can't we explore them? Why can't we look at them? Why is it that everything has to be the devil? Why is Christian? And it's so funny because when you look at the book that they're reading, they're so amazed by Jesus and all the wonderful things Jesus did. And I'm like, I can make it rain, motherfuckers. I can literally make it rain. Like, and I just get so frustrated because people trying to put me in this box, and I'm like, I can make it fucking rain, and I'm happy because I just found out. Like I've known that I can make it rain, but I've known that for a while. But this is the first time I'm like really sitting and thinking to myself, like, holy shit, I can actually make it rain. After that day when it rained, and I actually recorded it and I put it on YouTube. I was recording that for a reason. I think I can actually make it rain, guys. I've tried once before, but it drizzled, and it drizzled for like 15 to 30 minutes, and it was like a sun shower. But that one was like a storm. But I don't think that was all me though. So it's weird. I don't know if it felt that hard because I was tapping into the energy, then I made it fall that hard, or if it was just gonna fall that hard. Because the most I've ever been able to do was make a drizzle. But essentially, even with the rain criers, like in my culture, we have rain criers. So how it came in my head is like the rain crier would have given the king that magic. Even though the king would not have been an expert in the magic, he didn't know the intricacies of it. But because the king or the chief had to be at the top of the food chain, so to speak, then he would actually have to possess all the magic. And that's actually what our initiation was. When a person was becoming a chief or a king, when you were being initiated, every cult in your tribe, in your village, in your community had to come and give you its magic. And that's how the kings were initiated, and because he was supposed to be at the top of everything. But he wasn't an expert because he didn't train, so he might be more gifted in one thing, or he might know how to do one thing, or but his job was not really to carry the spiritual aspects. He had to have the powers, but he so that he was on top. But it wasn't necessarily to maintain the spiritual aspects of life. It was to maintain the everyday aspects, and then the high priest and the priests were going to maintain the spiritual aspects of life. you know but it's funny, and I think because I got into into the spiritual practice, I have started awakening a lot of those gifts that I have had, just never knew that I had. And even now that I'm living tarot, it's funny because it's like I'm noticing I'm having so much is coming to me, and it's just like, what? What? So you guys definitely go ask, hey Eugene, you are on point with the irony of Christians. But it's true, and it's so frustrating because I want to be able to talk about these kinds of things without someone telling me, oh, you're devil worshiping, or you're doing this, or you're going to sin. And it's funny because the one way I've always seen it, and I still see it this way, that's why the Pharisees, Jesus rebuked them so much. Jesus rebuked them so much because they knew a lot of the Bible, but they didn't understand the Bible. They didn't understand miracles. They didn't understand the power of miracle. They didn't understand the power of not being close-minded. And that's exactly it. The Pharisees were close-minded. They divided themselves with other people. You couldn't sit, one of Jesus's biggest things, and I've said this, Jesus had favor with both man and God. So one of the biggest things was that he did not divide himself. He did not necessarily, you know, separate himself in that way. And people want to talk about, well, because I've heard quite a few people saying this now, actually, that you can't do this if you don't have the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, or you don't have this, or you don't have that. You can't do this if you don't have that. There are there are Muslims that follow the Quran that are casting out jinn out of people. They are. There voodoo priests. I remember I was reading an article a few years ago about a voodoo priestess. I don't remember what the article is called. This was years ago. And she was talking about how she had gone to Haiti to perform a cleansing. I think it was no, not to Haiti, to Jamaica on a plantation to perform a cleansing. I think it was either in a book or in an article. And she said she went to Jamaica to perform a cleansing on a land that had been cursed, a farm. And when she went there, really, I don't like being interrupted. Since God told me that, I've been saying that. I don't like being interrupted. It's such a snarky thing to say. Anyways, so she went there and she was there to cast out a spirit from the land that had been planted there to kill the crops. And while she was in the house, she was about to go out to start casting out the spirit. It started raining. It's like I guess the forces were trying to block her from being able to do it or something. And she started speaking to the rain, and she spoke to the rain, and she said, "Not a drop would touch on me." And when she walked out into the field, like from the plantation house, and she was walking into the field, she said the rain was moving around her. And I'm like, wow. And I actually do believe that. I do believe that because I've done some crazy things that I myself I can't explain. You guys, like I've said, one of the biggest things that I always reference because it's something that I've actually shown you guys. You guys remember, with my laptop, I made my laptop come on. And I till today, because essentially this laptop, let me show you guys a laptop. I still have it. My Apple laptop. And I think the video is still on YouTube. When I turned on my laptop, whose battery was dead. This is the laptop right here. And I've had this laptop now for years. This is the laptop. It's all beat up. I had it like under some stuff, so it's really dirty right now. But this is the laptop, my Apple laptop. And I turned on, and this is, I ordered Home Chef. It came yesterday, so I've been cooking. Yesterday I made burgers. They delivered. But anyways, so I have to go cook after this too, because I'm trying to get back in the habit of cooking and eating while and eating right. But I turned that laptop off. The reason I'm not using the laptop is because the battery died. Like the battery drained. Like literally, it was drained. I had to get a new battery if I was going to use the laptop again. If I was to continue using the laptop, I didn't have money for it. And I literally was doing a meditation, and I spoke to the laptop, and I said, come on," and I invoked Ogun, and the laptop came on, and it charged, and it kept charging for days, and it just showed, like, you know how like it shows that it's charging, and the laptop was not plugged into the computer, into the wall. And I actually did a video, and I showed you guys that. So there are these things that we can, so I don't doubt at all that there's someone in this world that can talk to rain and say, "You will not fall on me," and then walk out and rain not fall on them, you know. I don't doubt that at all. I don't doubt it at all. I don't doubt it, because I know, and this is something I know about myself. When my emotions build up, when I try to do it myself, I only get showers, and it will only shower for about 15 minutes. When I let my emotions build up and I'm going through something and I'm holding on to my emotions, guys, I can almost guarantee you I can cause a storm. And I don't know, like when I start crying, I can literally cause a storm. So some of you might even have that ability. Some of you, your family members, you might have rain criers in your family, because rain choirs were essentially what Storm from the X-Men are based on. Those are the people that Storm is based on from the X-Men. You know, people that could do those things, control the weather. And they're actually a big part of African society, because before every ceremony, before every marriage, wedding, you know, those kinds of things, coronations, rain choirs would be called to make sure that the weather stayed good throughout the procession, so that there will not be any storms. Nowadays, those are dying practices. They don't practice them anymore. But it's just like, and it's funny because I was literally taking a shower, and that just started coming to my head. And I was like, because I was asking, okay, so I'm like, okay, God, you you're telling me that I'm wrong. You're telling me that, but then you're telling me that I'm right. For, like, why do I have all these gifts, but then everybody's telling me that my gifts are evil, or they're wrong, or something is not right with them? Why do I have all these gifts? So now I understand why. I mean, I've always known it, but it's like now I have a deeper understanding. The way it came to me, it wasn't just like, okay, there's this and then there's that. No, it was like bloodline on both sides of your family. On both sides, of course. So those of you, and a lot of you might actually be African royals and you don't even know it. You might actually have royal bloodlines, you don't even know it. Like I said, that I'd seen a lady, and she had sacred prostitution, and that's a very powerful gift, because that gives you the ability to burn away people's karma if you practice karma sutra. For people that practice karma sutra, it gives you the ability to burn away and heal people through sex, because that's what sacred prostitutes were supposed to do. They could cure diseases through sex. They could cure heartbreak through sex. They could cure a lot of different things, purify people's bodies through sex. So some of them, if they start practicing Kama Sutra, they might be able to. But then again, I don't even want to say that, because I don't want you guys going and practicing that stuff anymore. Because I'm trying to be, Christian now. I'm trying to be a good God following person. I don't even want to say Christian. I'm trying to be a good Yahweh following student. But I still have to discuss the kind of things that to me are so much about Yahweh, even though a lot of people might not see them that way. But I believe that God has shown himself in every culture, in every way. I really do. And also, maybe that's part of why I have this perspective, because my grandfather, who was a chief of the chief of my village, our community, our township, was, and it's a small community. Like, the guys don't think I'm like the king of, it was like the king of England. It was like, what, 5,000? It wasn't, I think it was more than five. It was like 20,000 people. Well, now it's a lot smaller because most people have left. So now it should be like 5,000 people left. But back then it was like 20,000 people, because now everybody has gone to the city. So the village is pretty small now, population wise. But back then there were a lot more people, and, but now everybody's in the cities. People are not in the small rural areas anymore as much as they used to be. But that's just what it is. But my grandfather was of the Baha'i faith. And that's something that I was discussing with my dad. And I went yesterday, and it's funny. I went yesterday and I was looking at Baha'i, and then it connected me to Zoroastrianism. So I don't know if you guys know what Zoroastrianism is. It's like, oh, Zoroastria. Is there anybody that knows that? It's like an old form of it's like an old form of it's like Judaism, but it's like an old form. It's like a mystical older form of Judaism. It's very similar to the Tawedo, which is like the Orthodox Ethiopian Christianity, or Orthodox Ethiopian Christianity. Yeah, the Ethiopian Church. So that's what Zoroastrianism is, very similar. And according to and then that connected me also to the three wise men, quote unquote. So one of the wise men is believed to have come from Africa, one of them is believed to have come from Persia, and one of them is believed to have come from Asia. Some people say they all came from Persia, some people say they all came from Africa, some people say they all came from Asia, but it's believed that they came from three different places in the world. Okay, the three wise men, or they were, or at least they are put that way to represent that. So the these people, they are believed to have been Zoroastrians, right? They were astrologers. The Bible even called them magi, even though people don't like to hear that. A lot of Christians don't like to hear that. They were called magi, meaning magicians. Hello, Virgo Sun 1111. They were called magi, meaning magicians. When Daniel was called in the Bible, he was called a master magician. A lot of Christians don't like to hear that because they're like, witchcraft is the devil. But they have to also understand what the Bible means by witchcraft. If you actually look at the root words and the Hebrew words and the Aramaic and what was translated, it was taught the way it was described. There were certain things that were considered wrong. For example, binding, love magic was considered wrong in the Bible. Binding, doing love bindings on people, that was considered witchcraft. And certain kind of practices, invoking the dead, were considered witchcraft. Those were the things that were considered witchcraft. So, but then if you look at also the following of, and a lot of people are going to get mad at me saying that, but if you look also at the following of Christians and the book they followed, their own consensus to start the witch trials, they allowed certain other forms of magic, like creating gnomes, like creating little men. How do they call those things? Those little super fake human beings. There's a word for it. Full Metal Alchemist. Anybody that watches Full Metal Alchemist, you know what I'm talking about. The cartoon Full Metal Alchemist. What are those things called? Those human beings that were created in jars. What are those things called? Um, that were like fake. So that even says that there might have been that kind of magic. People could actually create a golem. A golem, yes. So golems are actually allowed to be created according to Jewish law. That's acceptable magic. So a person can literally create life or create something that's almost human, which is a golem. Golems are like almost like humans. They're made of clay, and it's kind of like man playing God. So you are allowed to create a golem, but you weren't allowed to bind someone with love magic or raise the dead, which kind of makes sense. Necromancy, that kind of makes sense, because let them go and let them find peace. But there were other forms of magic that were allowed. So when people talk about do not suffer a witch to live, they don't even know what they're talking about. It's just so much. I understand why the Bible tells us, hi, Lotus Flower V. When you told me about the laptop, I remember when you told us about the laptop. Yep. I, the way I look at it, I'm from the belief system that there's nothing wrong. I think magic, the way I look at magic is the understanding, or the understanding of the unknown, the deeper knowing. And that's just how I look at it as. I understand why the Bible says we shouldn't work magic. I understand it. because especially with the channeling I recently did, that really I was shocked, but it makes sense. I've read it and I've reread it and I've watched the video. I fell asleep last night watching the video, rewatching the video, and it makes sense to me why the Bible says we shouldn't work magic, because we do open ourselves up to a lot of things that we may not even understand. You know, it's kind of like that girl. Do you guys remember a few months ago when that little girl, I think it was a white girl, had tried to summon Baron Samedi and she ended up dead? Do you guys remember that was a big news? Like that was big news when she had tried to summon a spirit. I think it was Papa Legba or Baron Samedi, and she ended up dead. Do you guys remember that? Hey, goddess auntie. Hey, sweetie, I've been loving your recent videos. Thanks for adding this to your channel. Hi, Eugene. Hey, no problem. Thank you so much, goddess auntie. And hey, sugar baby face. But do you guys remember that the girl? Am I the only one who knows of this? There was a girl that I tried to summon Papa Legba, and either Papa Legba or Baron Samedi. She had tried to summon Papa Legba and she had died. You guys just go type that on YouTube or go on Google if you're on your computer. She tried to summon Legba, but she got Baron Samedi. Right. She tried to summon Papa Legba, but then I think Baron Samedi did show up because Papa Legba is actually quite nice. Baron Samedi from Virginia, yes, that girl. And that's why the Bible says we shouldn't practice magic, because a lot of people go into these things not knowing what they're doing, and you have to be careful. Even I talk about that a lot. Even with tarot, I tell people be very careful. And even as I was saying that, I was going into things not knowing, because apparently I was, because tarot was inviting a lot of things into my life that I wasn't aware of. I'm bringing in a lot of energies into my life that I wasn't aware of, and then me also, my pride was going up, so it made me even blinder. My intuition as pertaining to myself was clogged because I was so proud that, oh, look at me, I have this business and I have 5 out of 5 stars and I'm running it and I'm a great diviner, blah 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 blah. I can do this, I've cured cancer. And you know, all that in my head was just like, oh, look at me, I'm so big. That I wasn't noticing that I was being surrounded by darker energies. I was being surrounded by them until they crashed me, you know. And I think in many ways that crashing was necessary, because that was God like, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. You've gone too deep. Wake up. Because that's literally how it felt. It's like I was dying, but in my soul. And I think that was a purification that was happening, because I was really going down a very dark path mentally. I hadn't yet gone to the place where I was, so, you know, I was stealing from people or doing anything like that. But personally, mentally, I was going down. And tarot was inviting a lot of things into my life. Now, I'm not saying that you don't go and do your tarot. If that's what you've chosen for yourself, feel free. But it made a lot of sense to me. Also, another thing, and this is something that I channeled as pertaining to magic, why the Bible might say, this is my belief system, my opinions, might say we shouldn't practice magic, has a lot also to do with the fact that we corrupt the spirits. We corrupt them. We start to make bargains, we start to make deals, we start to learn how to manipulate them, we start to learn how to bind them. And you know, there was one person that was very famous for binding demons in the Bible, and you remember how he died? King Solomon. Do you guys remember that? King Solomon, the wisest man in the world, the wisest man in the Bible, he said, God said he was the wisest man. You know, he was so favored by God, son of King David, Solomon. And how did he fall? He went and he started dealing with certain kind of magics. He wanted more for his kingdom. He bound spirits. And that's also part of why King Solomon married so many women. And a lot of people don't know that, but somehow I just have a knowing. He married them because he wanted access to the ancestral lineage. And he wanted access to the ancestral magic. And that's why he was able to have a group of demons, because they were pagans, a lot of the cultures he married, and his people rebuked him for that. But he married a lot of pagans. He had access to a lot of their spiritual practices. He learned from them, and he had a lot of magical wisdom and understanding of their magical entities. And then he started binding the demons and forcing them to do what he wanted them to do. Because if we read even the Bible, it says that the demons were the ones that built his kingdom. And I don't think it was literally per se that they built the kingdom, but I think he used them in many ways to amp up his wealth and amp up a lot of things, which was ridiculous because he was already the king of the world in a way, you know. But I guess that's the thing with pride and greed. Enough is never enough, right? So, and then in the Bible, it says that the demons killed King Solomon. He died very miserable.
They didn't kill him in the traditional sense, but I mean, it backfired. You cannot go around binding so many fairies because a lot of what they call this is the thing. There's demons and then there's demons. The way I look at it, demons can be human or spirit. I'm a daemon. I believe that. And though I'm differentiating them, daemon in the Daemon in the old traditional meaning, because demon didn't mean bad. That's Christianity that did that. Demon wasn't didn't mean a bad spirit. That's what Roman Catholics did when they demon, yeah, daemon, right. Daemon, which meant an intermediary between the gods or the spiritual world and the physical world. So all, even in what they call today angels, were called demons. But because Christianity wanted to make a fine line between good and evil, they created angels and then they created demons, or they classified one group as angels. And then because angels used to fall under the category of demons before, but then because they wanted to create a fine line between the two, they created the seraph, the angels, and then they created the demons, which were considered just the bad ones. But I consider myself a demon, and I've shared that with you guys before on this channel. I stand between, and I know that for a fact now. For a fact now. And then I also believe that there are other entities that, like the jinn, which are also demons, but we don't see them or they exist on a different plane, but they interact with us. So the jinn would be kind of like fire fairies, or they would be called what they call sprite. European mythology would call them sprites, which were like fire spirits or salamander spirits, which represents fire. And then you have Sylvanae, which are like the traditional fairies, like the pixies, the gnomes, who are earth spirits. Then you have the mermaids and the sirens, which are water spirits, which are water demons. They act between, but so someone like Oshun, for example, would be a water demon because she was a water spirit, and Yemoja is a water spirit. So those are water demons. And then it's like, oh my God, I'm getting so many downloads, guys. It's not even funny. Like the past week, I've been telling you guys, like I'm in my house, but I'm going all sorts of places in the world, and it's ridiculous. And it's funny because I thought when I started reading the Bible, it would stop. It's actually even gotten stronger. And I told you guys, my forehead has been throbbing so hard. It's been throbbing so hard. Oh my God. It's been throbbing, but it's not throbbed for a few days, but my it's been throbbing really hard right here. Generally, I usually when I'm channeling, I feel it in the back of my back, in either my lower back or like right in the middle of my back. It forms like a big circle right in the middle of my back. But recently, it's been here. I feel it so hard here. I'm not feeling it right now, but I feel it so hard right here. It's been throbbing. But yeah, so that's something I just wanted to share with you guys. So, and that's how we learn to work magic. And that's why some people, they have a stronger propensity for certain kinds of magic as opposed to others. For example, my people are water people. My country, Cameroon, is right by the ocean. My people, the southwest, I'm from the southwestern region of Cameroon. We are water people. So the ocean is right there. We have black sand beaches like in Hawaii, black sand, because we have an active volcano. I think we have the second tallest mountain. I used to live right under the mountain as a child, Mount Fako in Boya, the second tallest mountain in Africa, Mount Fako, and still an active volcano mountain. And we have black sand beaches because of that. So you actually, if you go Google Limbe in Cameroon, and there's a picture I posted before of me and my sister, and did I post it? And you can see like the black sand beaches behind us. It's a really cute picture. So those are the kind of things I'm talking about. When you start to look at these things and you start to really look at these things, you start to see a lot of connective things. So those that are connected to water spirits, and then something like Ogun, for example, is a god of metals, and that kind of stuff. So I'm looking at him as maybe a Sylvan. Maybe Ogun would have been more like an earth spirit. But I think in many ways, because we started interacting and they started teaching us and we started teaching them, or maybe not teaching them because they know a lot more than us, but these spirits used to work a lot closer with us until we started dominating them. I do believe that at one point in time, what they call jinn, what they call fae, what they call whatever, they used to interact with human beings a lot more than they do today. So, and that's how we learned magic. That's how we learned how to call the rain. That's how we learned how to do a lot of the things that we know how to do from these spirits. But I think we crossed the line because we started bribing them. And I don't know how I know this, but I know this. Somehow we've been bribing them, and that has that has corrupt. Oh, we've been corrupting them. Not even bribing, but we've been corrupting them. But then, to me, they have free will too. So why did they agree if they knew it was going to corrupt them? So I think we human beings have corrupted spirits. We've corrupted a lot of the spirits that were put here. Sorry, something came up on my screen and I tried to close it and it did that. Demon. Yeah, is that it seems like we cleanse and cleanse again and again, but some energies in Tower climb the ladder with us, unbeknownst to us, Tower readers. What's up with that? Yes. Because I think, well, you have to understand something. Tarot was made with tarot has spirits within itself that is dedicated to. Tarot cards were made dedicated to some spirits themselves. You have to be careful with those things because that is, it's not just a bunch of symbols. A lot of the symbolism in tarot is occultic. So just that alone has its own energy attached to it. And if you're going to use it, and that energy is not going to go because that's part of what functions and that's what gives the message. And you have to connect with those energies in order for you to receive the message. So, in as much as you cleanse it, you can't cleanse it from what it is. It's kind of like saying, I'm going to rebuke a demon from a demon. Not saying that, those are demons, but I'm saying, like, it's kind of, do you kind of go what I'm trying to say? It's kind of like, I'm going to rebuke a demon from a demon, but they are the demon. That's what they are. Or it's kind of like saying, I'm going to take the black out of a black person, but they're a black person. You kind of get what I mean? Do you guys kind of get what I'm trying to say? So the tarot cards themselves, they come with their own attachment already, set in, built in. So as long as you're tapping into those energies, you have to interact with those spirits. You have to interact because those are the building blocks and the foundations of what it is. You cannot cleanse away the spirits from it. You can cleanse away the attached spirits that come in attaching to that energy, but you cannot cleanse away the built-in spirits because it is built in and dedicated to certain groups and spirits of divination. And those just come with that territory. So as long as you're dealing with tarot, be aware that you will be dealing with some kind of spirits. And those would be whether Hellenistic spirits or you want to call them demons or daemons or whatever, but you will be dealing with and interacting with some aspects of spiritism and spirits that are not from, I don't know, Judo Christian belief system perhaps, or they might even be, but they might not be. So we have to understand these things. Same way they all have their and that's another thing too. Tarot, a lot of people don't know this, but tarot does have astrological correspondence, which is how also when a person is trying to create a servitor or a spirit, a lot of most people will do it through astrological correspondences. So you will start to look into astrological. Love is the answer. Gonzo, love is the answer. Always, yes. Always. So you will start to tap into those energetic occurrences and spirits. So you have to give when you're dealing with again when you're dealing with tarot, it's just something that you have to deal with. It comes with the territory because that's how they function. That's what is built into them for them to function. Those cards have their astrological correspondences, they have their spiritual correspondences. And like I was saying, when you're creating a servitor, for those of us that know how to create servitors, like when you're creating a god being, a god form, or a spirit being, I don't want to call it a god, or well, I will say with a small g perhaps, but I don't want to call it a god per se because you don't worship them. When you create servitors, you don't worship them yourself, they serve you in a way. So those of us that know how to create, there are ways to create them using astrology. And I talked about it earlier about how some people, if you like in the olden days, if you wanted to run a brothel, you create let's say if you're in Africa, for example, in Yoruba land, Yoruba kingdom, and you wanted to create a brothel, or you run a brothel back in 1600s or 1500s, and you would create a statue of maybe Oshun because she's known for beauty, luxury, that kind of stuff. And you tap into Oshun energy, which will be Venus, the planet Venus. So let's just say astrologically, because they won't look at it as Venus, they'll look at it as Oshun. So you call to Oshun, who is a goddess of beauty, or the fairy of beauty, art, culture, creativity. She's a fairy of money, luxury. So you create a statue, for example, and then you invoke into that statue. You put a servitor. You create a servitor aligning with that Oshun energy, and then put it so it wouldn't necessarily be Oshun herself. Actually, create a spirit with that energy which carries that representation of that thing, and then you put it into the statue, and then you put it in front of your house. That's why a lot of you look at a lot of like African villages, their tribes, and they'll carry statues in the front. Even when you look at in Hawaii, I don't know what those things are called. You guys know what those things are called? But Polynesians do those things too, where they have like this long standing points, like they're like made of wood, and they have like faces like and tongues, and they're like animals or something like godly. They are gods to them, I guess. But and then they're standing on, like, it's like made of wood. Do you guys know what those things are called? I can't remember the names. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, say, tell me please what those things are called. But they'll create those pillars, and those pillars will be kept there, and those are how those things were created, and they were put there. Some of them were created to protect the village. So before it went into someone's village, they'll have posts. They'll have posts there. So people that came into the village, those were the guardians of the village. Some of them were man-made. Others of them were invoked using other deities that were already existing. Tiki, yes, tiki statues. Yeah, 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 tiki. And yes, even with totems, it's the same concept with totems. You can also put energy within a totem. Yes, it's the same concept with totems. You can also put a spirit inside of a totem. And people that, and that's another thing. I'd seen a lady talk about this a few months ago, and someone that I follow on YouTube here, I think Lighthouse. Hello, Tamara. Hello, welcome. Yeah, tiki statues. And someone that I follow here on YouTube, I think her channel is called Lighthouse. She had also talked about it very recently, and it's very true. A lot of people, they go, like, they travel to Morocco, they travel to Africa, and they go and they buy little pendants, they buy little stuff, with skeletons, or certain kind of like spirit, like they'll have certain symbols on them. Don't buy those stuff. Don't buy those stuff. A lot of those things are dedicated. There's a reason why I don't have any altar in my house. There's a reason I don't have any altar in my house. There's a reason I don't have any painting in my house. Not one. Be very careful. A lot of these things are dedicated. They are dedicated. Spirits have been put into these things. And then you buy it, and then you start having visitations at night. People's beings start showing up, appearing in your dreams. You wake up and you see something walking around your house, or your boyfriend suddenly dies, or that can be careful. You have to be careful with these things. Some of these things, and even with this, these things that they call antiques, in antiques and whatnot. Some of those antiques were taken from shrines. You have to be careful with those stuff. When you go to, what is that? What's that website called? Trade something, where they sell antiques. My mom likes to shop from there. Uh, I can't remember, but there's a website where they like sell. I think it's one something, one trader, one degree. What's that thing called? I can't remember, but they sell antiques on it. My mom loves to shop from that, and sometimes they'll have African antiques, and I'm like, but do you know where those things come from? Be careful the things you buy. You know. Now, if you're just buying like stones and gemstones and whatnot, that's different. And I'm just looking at the time; it's 11:11. If you're just buying gemstones and that kind of stuff, that's different. But if you're gonna be buying certain kinds of things, you have to understand that those things have energy that it comes with, especially things that have already been used, pre-used. We are always surrounded by energy and spirits. Practice listening to those spirits that are here to help. That's the thing. Yeah, but a lot of people, they go and they don't know which one is here to help and which one is not. They don't. They don't know. Some people can't tell, and a lot of spirits that may present themselves as here to help may not be here to help, and that's something I myself, I can say, I've just experienced very, very well. There are a lot of things that say that, oh, I'm here to help, I'm here to lead you this way and lead you to your betterment, but they're not. I was talking about it yesterday or a few days ago about how what I saw was not what I saw. So be aware of that as well. That not everything that says is here to help is here to help. Know that. Some of them may think they are here to help, but they are just destructive by nature. There's a French TV show I would love for you guys to watch. Obey. What is that? What is? I think it's called Obey. OBE. There's a French TV show that I would love for you guys to watch. If I can remember what the name is called. It's not Spectros. Spectros is on Netflix, and this TV shows on Netflix. Spectros is a very good one. Spectros is a very good one, but it is Brazilian. I love Spectros. I'm waiting for the second season. But there's another TV show that deals more with African spirituality. And there's this deity called Obey who comes to people and he tells them that he's here to help people. So it's a bunch of teenagers, high schoolers, and this deity shows up to them and they discover that there's this deity that's working and essentially making people commit suicide or kill other people, and promising them power, and and it messes with their head. And the teenagers, one of them is a high priestess, and she has to figure out, and her friends have to figure out a way to kill the deity or to send it to trap it away. So it's a very interesting TV show, and it does talk about things like this. So there are these ideas. Even when I was doing this, when I was writing all this stuff and I was doing my channeling, one thing that kept coming up is half truths, half truths, half truths. There's a lot of truth out in the world, but they are just half truths. A lot of things are half truths, and that's the truth. A lot of things that you read, a lot of even me talking, it's a half truth because I don't have all the answers. So, wait, totems? What about totems? So there are a lot of those kinds of things that are half truths. So be aware of that as well. Um, but anyways, that's all I have to say. Make sure what is that TV show called? I'm so pissed off because I can't like oh let me go on my laptop. Let me go on my laptop. I'll be able to get it. Give me a second, guys. Someone had sent me a text message. Uh it was from Cricket. I thought someone had texted me, but it was from Cricket. Come on, come on. I'm on my laptop. I'm trying to see if I can find TV series that I'm talking about. And it talks a lot about this kind of stuff. And you see how spirits can really mess. And the reason I'm referencing this TV series is because it kind of really shows how spirits can really mess with a person's head and make them do the most crazy things or make them. Because spirits, trust me, not all spirits I say they come to help are there to help you. And even if you think that they are, even if they make you feel love, whatever that is, because sometimes they'll make you feel love, but so be very mindful of the kind of spirits you work with. Be very mindful of the things you're opening yourself to. What is this? Obey. I'm just gonna try to type it in. Netflix. Netflix. Obey. Mortel. It's called Mortel. It's a French TV show. Let me turn the screen. Yeah, there it is. It's a French TV show. It's called Mortel. You guys go check that TV show out. It's so and I love this TV show because it really I feel like they did a very good job of like really capturing that what even I have just experienced. There are only 6 episodes right there. Number of episodes 6. So you guys go check it out. It's on Netflix, and there's another one called Spectros, which I also love. But Spectros is a lot more fantasy. Mortel is more realistic. Spectros is very fantasy-ish. Let me see. Oh, I went from 11:11 to 12:12. Spectros. Spectros. Is that it? How many episodes? Yeah, it is. I don't know if you guys would like Spectros, but I liked it. I thought it was really corny, but I liked it. It's kind of childish as opposed to the other one, but I enjoyed it a lot. And this one has 7 episodes. It's a Brazilian TV show though, and it deals with Japanese, elements and that kind of stuff. So
we deal with a lot of elemental spirits, and we really do. A lot of us, we don't know that, but we deal with a lot of elemental spirits. And I'm now realizing that even a lot of the spirits that we call gods are not really gods. Well, they are gods because we worship them. They are deities because we worship them. But a lot of it is more elemental spirits. And in many ways, I think we have corrupted them. Based on what I channeled yesterday, I think we are corrupting them. We are corrupting them because they are here to serve. They are here to serve us. I think they're part of the grand scheme of things. And also, another thing that came up to me, which I was very surprised about, was the idea that the Orisha are children of the fallen. But it makes sense. It makes sense because if, okay, let's look at it this way. Do you guys know that in ancient Egypt, right, they considered the Pharaoh, I can feel energy in people, uh, from New Guinea. Hey, hello, my fellow African. So you guys know that in, wait, what was I gonna say? I was talking about spirits. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something, but I don't remember what it was. What was I gonna say, guys? Someone remind me, please, because I read that and I completely like lost my train of thought because I was reading what that person wrote. Do you guys remember what I was gonna say? Anybody? Pharaoh. Egypt pharaohs. Okay. Hey Jojo. Hey Jojo. Jojo Starro. Uh, mm, I hope you've been praying, Jojo. And did you see what I sent you? I think something is moved. Anyways, I'm not gonna talk about that right now. There's something I have to tell you. Well, I'm not gonna tell you right now. Anyways, I don't know. Greetings, Eugene Beatrice from London. Hey B. Hello. I did Jojo. Okay. So with did you guys know that in a lot of, actually in almost every culture, previous cultures, and even the Bible actually says this. And it's funny, and this is why again I feel like it's so important to look at the world, not just read the Bible, but look at the world, because the Bible makes sense if people would just open their freaking brains and look around. For example, the fallen, the mighty ones, a lot of the translations that the people have of the fallen angels was that they had children that were giants. But the Bible doesn't say that those children were giants. The word for that was translated as giants wasn't actually giants. It doesn't actually say that they were giants. It called them mighty ones, meaning that the way, but in the way that it was used in the Aramaic way, or in the Hebrew, that the way it was translated, mighty ones, they said they were giants, or the original translators wrote that as giants. It wasn't that they were actually giants. It was that they were mighty ones, as in exalted ones. They were powerful. They had powers, right? They were gifted. And then when you look at even with like the Orishas and Shango, for example, who was known to call the sky, call thunder from the sky, lightning from the sky. Oya, who is known to control the winds, if they were real people that lived, because for example, we don't know about Oya, Yemoja, and all those, but we do know that Shango did live. There was a human man called Shango. We do know that, a human king called Shango. And he was also known to be very magically powerful. And then when you look at Egyptians and you look at Chinese, for example, actually just about every culture back 5,000 years ago, they actually used to believe that their kings were gods, or they were descendants of gods. Even Hercules and all of them, they have that tendency of believing that their kings were gods or descendants of gods. And it kind of makes sense that they would think that. And then when you look at, for example, how the things that the pharaohs were able to do up to today, science cannot explain how the pyramids were built. Till today, science cannot explain how the pyramids were built because it just doesn't make sense how they were built with the technology they were supposed to have. Maybe they didn't have technology, maybe they had powers. Maybe they had spirits working with them or working for them. Do you guys kind of go what I'm trying to say? Like there's a lot of things that we don't look at it.
we read the Bible, and then that's why I think it's so important that when you're reading the Bible, you also go and you follow a lot of theological channels, and you go into theological forums and you study theology along with the Bible. Because the more you study theology, the more you start to see the synchronicity of what the Bible says and what actually history even says. For example, with the Egyptians believing that their pharaohs were gods. And to today, we still don't understand a lot of the technology that they had in Egypt. We still don't understand how they were able to domesticize a lot of the animals that they were. We still don't understand how they were able to create out of the desert fertile land, a lot of green fertile land, and why pharaohs and Egyptians, royal families, was tied babies' skulls in forms of alien heads. Right, right. So exactly, Jojo. So these are the kind of things that I feel like we need to be open, and that's why exactly why I said that we need to be more open. Even Christians need to be more open, because when you're looking at just the Bible, you're understanding it, but you're not understanding it. You're not seeing the deeper meaning of things. You're not seeing the deeper, you're not getting that deeper understanding of how that those words apply to the world around you. You're only understanding it, you're only looking at it through the eyes of people that have lived 2,000, 3,000 years ago that you never met, and a lot of their sayings and their words, which have been mistranslated and misquoted, but you wouldn't understand that deeper. You wouldn't have that deeper understanding. You have to, when you're studying the Bible, also study the theological aspect of the Bible. Look at the root words of words. For example, where the Bible talks about, being burned forever and ever, the Bible doesn't say you're going to be burned forever and ever. That's not true. That is not true. Tartarus. And it's funny that we only have one word called hell, but in the Bible, in the original Hebrew text, there are several different words that are used to describe hell based on the culture. For example, Tartarus was used for the Greeks, but that was because they had an underworld that was known as hell. That was considered their hell, with the pit of fire there. Gehenna was used, but that's because the people used to worship a deity called Molech. Is it Baal or Molech? No, they used to worship a deity called Molech, and they would throw in this in the city of Gehenna. They would throw in on the outskirts of the city. They would sacrifice babies to Gehenna, to Molech in Gehenna. So when Jesus was talking about people being tossed into the fire, he was directly referencing the people who were practicing, the Molech worshippers who were throwing in children into the fire, which is what Gehenna is. And so even when you read the Bible and you look at, you have one word called hell, but in the Bible they use different words because we're trying to get a point across. It wasn't just saying that, oh, you're going to be burning forever and ever. And actually in the Bible, it doesn't even say that you'll be burning forever and ever. It says God's judgment is eternal, and eternal life is only given to those who are with God, the eternal soul, the right to live forever. You don't get to go into hell and burn forever. People need to stop with that fear tactic. It doesn't work anymore, at least not on me. You don't go to hell and burn forever. When you burn, you will burn. Don't get me wrong, you will die. And even in the Bible, it says the wages of sin is death, not eternal life and torment. You don't get to live eternally in torment. The wages of sin is death. You get to die one time. When judgment is passed, the Holy Spirit burns your ass. You turn to ash, and that's it. And then those that are with Jesus, they go into eternal life. Those are the ones that get eternal life. You don't get eternal life if you're not, and that's a concept. So you don't get eternal torment. People need to stop with that fear tactic bullshit. Stop with the fear tactic bullshit. That's straight from the devil. And that's why a lot of people run away from Christianity. Is why I ran away from Christianity. Not because it scared me per se, but because I couldn't understand, why you will be telling me that this is a God of love, a God of this, a God of that, a God of this, a God of that. And then you're telling me, oh yeah, he's just like sitting out there watching people burn and, doing s'mores. He takes some s'mores and he sticks it in, and then he's just like, oh, look at them roasting in hell. Like the fallen. Well, the fallen might mean to lose faith, but if we're going based on biblical meaning, the fallen are those that disobeyed God and wanted to become God. Those, and if you notice another thing, and this I found also interesting in my channeling. After I'd done my channeling, I like Bible talks about creatures in heaven. Some had a face like a human, right? And even in my channeling, when I was doing my channeling, I noticed that that came up into some degree with the idea of the fallen, and it said that the Orisha were descendants of the fallen, but it didn't say that they were fallen. So I'm wondering, does that mean every Orisha was actually a human being at one point? Or is it that some of them were energetic, meaning fairies and fae, what we call fairies and fae today? Or, and some of them were nature spirits. God did create nature spirits. They're energies that are controlling the things that we see every day. Nature has spirits within itself, and there are guardians within those places. Nature does have spirits, even though we might not always see them, but those spirits are there literally to create it, to organize the natural flow of things. Same way we have guardian angels, but we don't know we have guardian angels. There are spirits that are there in the forest to monitor and protect the forest. And those are the spirits that taught us a lot of things about herbalism, with people that could talk to trees, for example. They interacted with those spirits. So we have to look at these things. It's not so. eh, Sometimes I'm just like, I want to grab like a few Christians and just shake them, like, open your eyes. Or even if not open your eyes, but just open your mind. You can't be, you can't say you follow God and you're close minded. Those two things don't work together. You can't say you follow God and be close minded because God is everything. So how can you follow God and not want to understand everything? You can never understand everything. You're never going to understand God, but you can't follow God either and be close-minded. Those two things are contradictory. Open yourself. Open yourself to knowledge. My people perish for the lack of knowledge. Open yourself to knowledge. The Bible makes sense if people would just let it make sense and not call everything the devil and evil and dark and demonic. If they would just let it make sense, the Bible makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And that's why God makes an emphasis on saying that we shouldn't worship those other stuff. Haha, my last name, Leto, is a Finnish language, a sacred grove, place where Finnish people went to pray the spirits of the woods and nature. Yeah, and you know what's funny? And I talked about this very recently. My last name means voice. I'm not gonna say it because I confuse people with my name. I like mix them up. If you notice, like I mix my name up a lot, but I confuse people with my name. But my last name actually means voice, and it means. And my grandfather's name was Voice of the Voices because he was the chief of the community. So his name was actually, when you translate it to English, was Voice of the Voices. So it was more of a title. And my name, now that, because we didn't have last names back then, it wasn't such a Western society, you were identified certain ways by certain things. For example, my grandfather, his name is Nkongo. My name, I inherited his name, the name Nkongo, and that name means born after a twin. So my grandfather was born after a twin, but I inherited that name, and I just have that name. I'm the firstborn. But he was actually, so those names used to mean something. When Africans named their children, it meant something. We have that thing. And well, not just Africans, a lot of people. It's just that nowadays, everything is so globalized and cultures are so mixed up that those things have lost their value. But my grandfather was actually born after a set of twins. So he actually, that was the name that when you were born after a twin, they called you Nkongo. I have that name, but I'm not born after a twin. My mom named me after my grandfather. I have two of his names, and then the rest are from my father's side. So the Book of Enoch, yeah, I have. Yes, I have. About the Nephilim, with the Nephilim and all that. Yes, I have, Jojo. So and that probably and you know what's funny, uh, uh, Jojo, that's probably actually why you're so intuitive, because maybe you have family members that were guardians of the forest because they also used to have like a human counterpart. That's where the idea of the witch in the woods comes from, because there were humans that were dedicated to protecting those. I am reading it now. Soul lives on. Book of Enoch. Soul lives on. I am reading it now. Yeah. So That is where we get the idea of, the witch in the wicked witch in the woods. It was because people like you, your ancestors, might have actually been um, guardians of the forest, people that were interacting. Maybe they were herbalists, and that's where you might have the name Leto from, someone that was dedicated to the spirits, and that might have been a title. Because again, we forget a lot of these names were titles. When people were called carpenter, that was a title because they're black. That's what they did for work. You see, for example, I know someone that's called Mambo, and I said, Mambo means witch, and she said, yeah, I know, and she's a very powerful witch from Cameroon, Mambo. And in my culture, Bumbo, which is kind of like Mambo, but Bumbo means, like my grandmother, we called her Bumbo, which means it's like the elder, like a high priestess. I don't know if she was an actual high priestess, but she was called Bumbo. And that was like a title again, you know. So Mambo was like a priestess, and a Bumbo was like the high priestess. And my grandmother was Bumbo. So these are things that we need to pay attention to. Even our names, especially those of us that have like African names, we need to look into those names, what they mean, because those things were titles. Like I said, my name means, my last name, my family name is voice. And if it's funny, because I have Gemini, which is voice, the house of speech, in the 10th house of government. So voice. And then my grandfather, and 10th house of generation. 10th house is the house of Capricorn, which represents career, generation, and all those things. And I have Gemini, which is speech, which is voice. So with me, my name literally being voice, it's literally like my name is in my astrological chart. Do you guys see how crazy that is? And I was like, wow. When I noticed that, I was like, wow. Like, these things go deep. These things go deep. And my grandfather's name was Voice of the Voices, but it was his name, but it was more of a title, Voice of the Voices. So the name was repeated twice, Voice of the Voices. Because when you repeated it, it pluralized it. So these are the kind of things that I'm saying. Like, people need to open their minds, look into your names, look into your ancestry, look into what you've inherited, both good and bad, because I've definitely inherited some bad things too. But look at it, both good and bad. There's a lot of power. A lot of us, we have a lot of power that we don't know, especially us that go into spiritual practices. There's a lot of power behind this stuff. For example, Mercury moves closest to the sun, right? What is the sun? The sun represents enlightenment, right? Mercury moves closest to the sun. Does it make sense that a lot of people, like Jojo's Tower right there, she's a Tower reader. She's a Virgo. I'm a Tower reader. I'm a Virgo. People that have a lot of Mercury, and you notice that a lot of people that are very into spiritism will generally have a very heavy influence of either Scorpio. Well, the first Mercury, very heavy influence of Mercury. They'll have a very heavy influence of Jupiter also, and they'll have a very heavy influence of. Let me turn off. I have so many lights. Sorry, guys. Oh, I can go through that one. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get to my room. I closed one door and I'd forgotten. But they have a very heavy influence of Mercury. That mercurial influence is very, very important. It's very important. Because what is Mercury? Mercury moves closest to the sun. Enlightenment. So does that make sense why you see a lot of Virgos and Geminis almost, and I've always said this, look on YouTube, I guarantee you guys about 70% of people on YouTube reading tarot are Virgos, or they have heavy Mercury placement, either in their sun, moon, or rising, or they either have Mercury or they'll have Jupiter. Jupiter also signifies, Jupiter is about expansion, especially in Pisces. It becomes very, because it joins water, it becomes feminine. It becomes now expansion of spirituality. But Jupiter generally represents expansion. So people also with that placement will have a lot of spiritual practice. You'll notice a lot of spiritists have that. For example, and I even told you guys, Queen Elizabeth, for example, had Mercury, was a Virgo. Queen Elizabeth, who was known to be one of the biggest occultists in English history, was a Virgo. even though she hit it very well, but she was a Virgo. Queen Elizabeth I, the Virgin. Beyonce is a Virgo. Marie Laveau from New Orleans is a Virgo. And you start to notice those patterns. So Jupiter, people with Jupiter, people with heavy Mercury, and people also with Mars. I've noticed Mars also has a very strong influence. Venus sometimes, but there has to be a conjunction or some kind of heavy influence in the moon. But generally, Venus sometimes. But generally, when people go into it, people that are Venus influenced, when they go into magic, they are very focused more on, as opposed to like a Virgo that's looking for enlightenment. A Venusian person, when they go into magic, they'll be more focused on like manifestation magic. Wanting to have nice things, because Venus is about desires. So they go into magic mainly just to get the things that they want out of life. So whereas Virgos and Jupiter might be like, oh, I want to learn everything. People with Mercury or Jupiter influence might want to learn everything. People with Mars influence might also want to learn everything. But Mars influence will give you a darker edge, though, because Mars is a very aggressive planet, whether in Aries or in Scorpio. In Scorpio, it will definitely give you a darker edge, especially if you have it in Moon. Scorpio Moon, definitely very deep, dark magic. Those people will be great at dark magic. Most likely will come from a bloodline of occultism. They might be cult leaders, cult starters. Beyonce, hello, she practically has a cult. If you think of the Beehive, that's practically a cult. You know, so do you guys see how these things? Yes, nature is very spiritual. Yep. So do you see how these things like play out in our lives? Like Beyonce practically has a cult of her own, the Beehive. If someone pisses her off or talks bad about her, what happens? The Beehive goes bzzz and they start putting. That's a cult. So people, you will see people with Scorpio, because that's about, Scorpio is what, the house of occultism, hidden things. So occult magic, secret societies, dark magic, especially dark magic is very heavy with Scorpio. It could be any kind of magic, but dark magic specifically, because Mars is a malefic planet. So wherever it sits, it gives it a malefic, placement. Mercury is not malefic, and Jupiter is benefic. Jupiter is a benefic planet. Mars is a malefic planet. Saturn is a malefic. Ooh, Saturn is like a huge malefic planet. I have Saturn and Pluto in Scorpio. I need a card of my own. I have I have Rahu in Scorpio. I have Saturn in Virgo. I have Saturn in Virgo. Um, and so where do I have Pluto? Where? Oh, wait, let me look. Where do I have Pluto? I think I have Pluto in Virgo too. Do you guys mind if I go and I look for a quick second? No, I don't want to stop this though. I have it here. Is there a way that I can do this without closing everything? Is there a way I can keep this? Is there a way I can keep the video going without and go and look at my chart? I don't know. I'm not so familiar with my Western chart anymore because I go mainly by my Vedic now. I have similar reactions as you when I discover new gifts. The disbelief lasts less time each time, usually like, what? I did that? I can do that? Exactly. Even when I turned on my laptop, and it's so funny because I don't, even though I know I can do it, I don't even really put a lot of um I mainly use it for like small things. Like for example, if you guys look yesterday or 2 days ago when I was live and I was having a talk live, uh and my screen went, there was a moment when my screen actually like went weird, and I put my finger on it and I said blood of Jesus, and it immediately went straight. I know I have technopathy, but I barely ever control it. Hey, Pauline's grandchild. For some reason, I've been calling you young child. Every time I see the name, I want to say Pauline's young child, but it's actually Pauline's grandchild. But I always want to say Pauline's young child. I don't know why I want to say young child. I don't know if I read the name somewhere or something. I was talking about ancestral gifts and ancestral powers. And this is one person I feel might have quite a few. Uh, and we're just discussing. Well, I don't want to go back into discussing all of that. So just go and rewatch, because I was really hoping that you'll be live, because you were one of the people that I love to discuss things like this with, because you kind of have that same, you're one of the people that I love to discuss things like this with. So I think, like I was saying, that So go watch it. I think it might resonate, or a lot of it might make sense to you. But a lot, I do feel like, yeah, like that's why I have so many gifts, and that's something I can say even with this rain crier stuff, because that's what it came to me. I was taking a shower. I just took a shower, and I was taking a shower, and it was like rain crier, rain crier. You have the gift of a rain crier. In African communities, the rain crier was a person that when they were having ceremonies, they would call to make sure that the weather was good. That's where the idea of storm from the X-Men comes from. The goddess, the one that can control the weather. That's where the idea comes from. Rain crier. And I was taking a shower. I don't know if I got that idea because now that I think about it, maybe it's because I was taking a shower. and I don't know, but it just hit me and it dropped in my soul. And it's like, of course, bloodline. These are things that are from the bloodline and they're hidden, but we don't know that they're there. Like Johanna was just saying, she is, for example, one of the people that I know to be very gifted. She has the ability to hear stuff, and to see stuff. So, but I don't doubt it at all. And she said, even with her last name, those are people that went and prayed to the spirits of the woods. So that makes sense that she has ancestral lineage connecting to shamanism. A lot of us that are in this, like, this is not by coincidence. Even though I would say some of us are stronger than others. Hello. Hello. Some of us have it on both sides of our family. Hello. Let me just stop. I'm joking, guys. I'm joking, guys. When I was a child, I thought I had magical powers. You probably did. I thought so too. I thought so too. I didn't realize that I did. Jojo, you of all people shouldn't be talking about having magical powers. With the things you see, girl, sit quiet. With the things you see, you shouldn't even be talking. This lady, her dreams scare me sometimes. When she tells me her dreams, I'm like, Her dreams scare me. She has, and I know Pauline's grandchild has gifts. I know Jojo has gifts. I know the ones that I'm trying to pick out the ones that I know that we've discussed their gifts before. Who else? I know Goddess Auntie said she has gifts. And Virgo Sun 1111, I believe, has gifts as well. I think we've discussed that before. Yeah, I think she has gifts too. Yeah. So, anyways, I was just saying all that to tell y'all what is going on with me and that sudden epiphany that I just had. So, yes, again, look at your last names, look at your family names, look at the root words of those names, because a lot of it will tell you a lot about yourself. I understand why I like, not that now I understand why, but I understand why I have the gift to speak to spirits and to connect with ancestors. I understand why I have the gift to, but I'm analytical Virgo. I doubt myself every time. Oh my God. Did you look at my channeling? Do you see how many times Yahweh had to tell me to stop doubting myself? I doubt myself with every thought I have. It's a terrible behavior. It's a terrible habit. Well, maybe not with every thought, but it's a terrible thing that I have. And I think that's one thing that I also love so much about tarot. And I felt like, and that's why I was so proud and so, egotistical about it, because I felt like I was just so accurate and it made me feel very empowered because I do tend to doubt myself a lot. My mother had gifts too. She even met her spirit guide who helped her fight off malevolent forces to save her life when she was a child. Yeah, yeah. And my mom, I think my mom has had something similar, but she's not. My mom, there was one time when she had started getting like, I don't know, it was like skin cancer, and she had fought it spiritually. And essentially, what she did, she's very religious though, so she doesn't really go. But I knew what was happening when she told me the story. I knew exactly what had happened, but she didn't accept it. And she started putting anointing oil on it, and just praying over it every day for weeks. She did that. And then she said she had one dream, and some entity came to her and poked at it, and like disgusting black ooze, like it started oozing disgusting black liquids. It was just coming out, it just kept flowing, and she said in the dream it smelled so bad. And then she woke up and the thing was drying off, and then within like a week it dried off, and it like literally dried off and fell off like flaky. So I think she did the same thing. I think she might have healed, but she looks at it and she said God came to her. I tried to tell her that that was Raphael, Archangel Raphael, that came to release her from the illness, and she was like, I don't believe in that stuff. I don't blah blah blah. You want this, your magic, blah 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 blah. I'm like, oh my God, it's even in the Bible. Oh God, angels are in the Bible. And that's why with me, like, and also, okay, so say for example, another gift that to talk to you guys about writing stuff down. My mom, I had written a story about a lady, and I actually sent this to my mom. I'd written a story about a lady whose son, if I can find it, I might try to post it on my community so you guys check it out. But I'd written a story about a lady whose son had been attacked by another woman, by another woman's son, and the woman had joined them and they beat her son or whatever. And this woman had gone to go fight the other woman, and the story literally starts with her like matching to go fight this other woman. And it's a very short story, and I'd written it, I don't know why, and I'd named the lady after my mom. I literally named her after my mom. So she goes and goes and goes and she starts getting in an argument with this other lady. People from the community in the village, they come and they surround her, and then they start fighting, and she fights and she's fighting all these people. And then she gets so upset, she takes a pillar from the fire and she throws it, and as she's running away, she throws it into the house, and it sets the house on fire. And I'd written that story about 7 months ago. And it's funny because something that has just happened to me very recently, if my mom had not, my mom was a big part of why I was freed from it. And I think she set it on fire. I don't even think it was all me because I was pretty low at that point. My energy was being sucked left and right. And remember, that's when I told you guys, even with the stuff about the prayers, when I was channeling yesterday, and I said that my mom and I had been discussing about prayers. There was a lady, one of her friends had fallen, their daughter had fallen ill, and she'd gone into a coma, and nobody knew what had happened. And my mom had started channeling a message, and she had texted, she had gotten on the phone, and she said she had done a voice message, and then she had sent a text message, and she had told them, unless your wife, it was her friend, the friend was a man, but he was married and he had a daughter, and she had texted and she had told him, unless your wife, and this is from my maternal side, Bombo is from my maternal side, so my grandmother might have been a high priestess, because Mambo is priestess, Bombo is high priestess. So my grandmother might have been a high priestess because my mom does channel information. She does very strongly, and I do too. So she texted and she said, you cannot under any circumstances. Hi, Shadow Healer, love and light. How are you? I'm doing okay. Okay, Cast Love 11 Tarot. Hello. So she told 1313. We went from 1111 to 1212 to 1313. I love that. So 1313. Okay. So the I just thought of something, and I know what I thought of, and I just channeled it and some information, but that's okay. I'm not that worried about it. Okay. So she texted the friend and she said, unless, and I talked about this in the video that I posted with my conversation with Yahweh 2 days ago, something like that. So I said, she said to her friend, unless you take your wife, you guys go to the hospital, you stand behind your wife as a sort of support, even just energetically. I mean, it's a physical thing, and we may look at it as something so simple, but even energetically, is that standing behind someone. Even when we do trust exercises, that's what they do. Someone stands behind you, you fall, and they catch you, right? So that, just that in itself is symbolism of something. When in the Bible, when God is always sending His right hand, the right hand represents favor. Like I've told you guys in Africa, well, in my culture, you're not allowed to give an elder things with your left hand. It's not considered favorable. You give them with your right hand. You're not supposed to greet people with your left hand. You greet them with your right hand. You can't hand over money with your left hand. You are handing over with your right hand. So even in the Bible, you see that a lot. I'll reach my righteous right hand to you. I'll reach this to you. My right hand that holds the world. God holds the world in His right hand. There's a reason why the right hand is so important, because symbolistically, culturally, right hand represents favor. So even just that exercise of standing behind someone sometimes energetically is a very powerful thing because it means we're standing in accordance and I'm here to support you. So even though she didn't know that or she didn't type that or that, when she was telling me the story, that's how I saw it. Like I was downloading it that way, that he was creating a shield as the man of the house. He was creating a shield, but that child was hers. That child was hers. That 9 months that the baby cooks in the womb, that's very powerful. As a mother, and let me tell you something, all the mothers, you better listen to me. As a mother, you have a lot of power and say over your child's life. There is no entity, and this is something that my mom said to her friend, and since then I've been taking it because I trust what she said about this. She said the way she saw it, there was no entity that could come and take the life of a woman's child without a woman giving permission. Apparently, it gives you power over your child's life, speaking things into your child or speaking them out of your child. And that's what she had sent her friend. And she said, and that's something that she had just channeled, like nothing, kind of like how a few weeks ago or days, months ago, I was having a conversation with a lady and she was asking me like, how do we break a generational curse? I have never had to break a generational curse before, but somehow I knew exactly what to tell her. And it's just like within like 2 minutes I knew what to say. It just came into my head, like it dropped into my soul. So and she said, take your wife, go to the hospital, stand behind your wife, tell your wife to lean over the child and put her hands on the child and cancel whatever was keeping her in a coma, because the girl was not sick. She just went into a coma and nobody knew what happened. She was not sick. And she said that when she had returned back to Cameroon, the man had come, she had met with the man again. You know, they were friends, she had gone to America, you know, that kind of thing, they become distant. But when she came back to Cameroon, she had met with the friend again, and he had practically started crying. And he said, my daughter is alive only because of you. Only because of you. So these are the kind of things I'm saying. You better tell me too. I have a curse in my family. Really? I think I have one too. Well, don't we all? We inherit a lot. We inherit a lot. We inherit a lot. You know, don't we all to some degree? I feel like I have a curse in my family too. I have curses in my family, but I'm not so worried about it. And my grandfather was Baha'i. And oh, yeah. That's something I wanted to tell you guys about. Do I have the book here? Okay. Do you guys see this symbol? Okay. I saw a symbol that God had shown me, Yahweh had shown me when I was. And the wise men that went to go get Jesus were Zoroastrians, who were magicians, and their priests are called magi. They're called magicians. Very interesting that the priests of the people that got sent are magicians, astrologers, magicians, herbalists, and all the alchemists to go greet Jesus. They were the only ones that were able to recognize Jesus. Even the Pharisees could not recognize Jesus. The people that had spent their whole life dedicated to knowing about God and God's word, the word of God stood right in front of their face and they could not recognize the word of God. But a bunch of witches from different cultures, from different religion, were able to recognize God, but they could not recognize God, and He was standing right in front of them. Isn't that interesting? Don't you guys find that hilarious? I have to go to sleep. Melatonin is kicking in. Oh, okay, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. Good night, Jojo. Love you lots. Thank you for your support. She's helped me a lot. She's been very supportive. Thank you so much. Especially when I've been having my breakdown. I called her and I talked to her, and she was very supportive. Blessings to you. That's my sister from another mother. Okay. Good night, Jojo. Okay. So, do you guys see this symbol that I'd written? Okay. Wait. Let me do it this way. Let me see if I can do this. Okay. Do you guys see the symbol right here that I drawn? You know what's crazy? When I was doing my channeling, an empty vessel without a lid, fences. Yeah, blah blah blah. When I was doing channeling, I drawn this symbol. Yesterday, when I went and I was looking up, oh sorry, am I blocking my speaker? I hope you guys can hear me. I'm sorry. Yes, when I was doing my channeling, God had shown me this symbol, and I wasn't sure what it was. It was like a square, and then it had like it looked like the Star of David or something. And right here, this symbol, it was me drawing, I guess, in my own way, what I perceived to be Jesus's baptism. Sister from another mister. um, this is this was me trying to draw Jesus's baptism because he had also shown me an image of Jesus being baptized, and then you see that image he had shown me an eye. So when I draw them like that, that means I saw like he gave me, and then here I put regret and I put X because I saw like regret, and then I saw like an X swipe in front of it, and then it said repent. But I want to focus specifically on this because you know what's funny? When I was studying, when I was looking more into Tawedo, which is the Ethiopian Christianity, and trying to understand it, it led me to the Zoroastrianism or Zoro, whatever it's called. And my grandfather, like I've said, was of the Baha'i faith, which is very, very similar. He introduced Baha'i to my culture. He was the first king that brought that religion to my culture. And when I was looking at Zoroastrianism or Zoroastrian, actually, let me try to see if I can find it. Yes, guys, that's my bed, my bed frame. Yeah, my bed frame. Anyways, when it came, I never threw it away. Because I feel like when I want to move, I'm gonna want to put it into something, and I'm supposed to be moving soon. Let me see if I can find it. And I was looking at something on the internet that looked exactly like it. I don't know if I'm tripping or what. Zoroastrianism. Okay, let me see if I can find it. Um, Zoroastrianism. I'm trying to see if I'll be able to find that symbol. I definitely saw it when I was Ahura Mazda. Uh huh. That's what they worship, Ahura Mazda, which is like a wise lord, which is like Ahura Mazda. Where did I see this symbol? And I was using my phone. That's why if I was not using my phone, might have just gone back. But I was using my phone. Zoroaster. Okay, I think I might have it. I think I might have it. Is this it? Is this it? Uh-uh. Damn it. But essentially, I saw a symbol that I was not very familiar with, and then when I was looking at this stuff, it showed me that symbol again. So I'm trying to understand why it's showing me a symbol from this other belief system. I mean, it's a belief system that revolves around Yahweh, but it's still very interesting to me that it showed me. And then these were the people that also went and found Jesus when he was being born. And yes, they were occultists, and yes, they are occultists. So I find that very interesting, and I think that, and that to me, if anything, just again reinforces that idea that God, God is a lot bigger than we know. God is a lot bigger than we know, and that's a danger of being close-minded while you're following the Bible, or you're following Christianity, or you're following the belief system. Because, like I said, Jesus never called himself a Christian to begin with. He couldn't have because he was not a Christian. Lotus Temple. I'm trying to see if I can find it. I'm not finding it. Baha'i. If I can find it, guys, I will show you guys. It is so interesting to me that like that came up so strong, and it was like this star. It looked like the Star of David or something, and I saw it in one of, because I was just going through. You know how like when you're on Wikipedia or something, and you're just clicking from one place to the other. I mean, of course, you shouldn't look at stuff necessarily only from Wikipedia, but to me, that's the easiest place to go and gather some kind of information. And then if I want to go look at it deeper, then I'll go look at articles. But I get the general ideas mainly from Wikipedia. I'll just go and gather a few stuff. And then the things that I want to look at deeper, then I go and start researching and looking at, you know, those that were there before. But anyways, I can't find the star. But that star, I saw the star somewhere, and it's pissing me off that I can't find it. It's pissing me off that I can't find it. Amesha Spenta, is that it? No, that's not it. All right, I'm just gonna give up because I don't think I'm gonna find it. Anyways, so what do you guys have going on? What's going on with y'all? I think I finished talking about what I wanted to talk about. That was supposed to be my wrap up, but I can't find it, so now I don't know what to say because that was supposed to be my wrap up. When I said that, I was gonna be like, okay, I'm done. I saw it somewhere. I just don't know where I saw it, and it's pissing me off. What's going on with y'all? Sister from another mister. Oh, 140. Oh my god, have I been live that long? You see, you always get me trapped into this stuff. Well, I get myself trapped into this stuff because I love talking about things like this. But all right, take care of yourselves. Let me go study. I have my class here. I have to go back to it. Well, maybe eat first, then go to my class. Anyways, thank you guys for being here. So look into your bloodlines, look into your family ancestry, look into the things I need to look into because there's a lot shopping for groceries and watching me yeah, definitely guys go stock up and Pauline's grandchild, please, please, please make sure that you Pauline's grandchild, make sure that you buy more canned food. Okay, buy more canned food. Buy more canned food. There's a shortage coming. Actually, I feel like it's already here. So buy more canned food. Everybody, take note of that, please. Buy more canned food. It's gonna last longer. Okay. All right. That's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for being here. Stay blessed, and I wish you the best. Bye bye. I will. Okay. Mm-hmm.